Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. Congressman, that's a pretty chilling assessment of where things are on the ground there. What are you hearing, and especially now that it does appear that the Ukrainian officials are starting to have talks with the Trump transition?
Well, I think the Ukrainian officials, who, remember, just about 6 weeks ago, were busy calling J.D. Vance an extremist. I don't know if you remember that. I wonder how their tone has changed now that they're in D.C. But I think they see the writing on the wall, and that's that the United States is not going to give Ukraine a blank check to do whatever they want. Now that we have President Trump coming into office, there's going to have to be strings attached to the support for Ukraine. And if that means bringing an end to this war is what we should be steering this toward, then so be it. But it's amazing because for the last year or so, we've been hearing nothing from the left about give Zelensky a blank check, however long it takes, you take it. And then they turn around and they try to tell Netanyahu what he can and cannot do and try to tell him that he has to have an off-ramp for the attack on him. So quite the dichotomy of how the left treats Ukraine and how they treat Israel. But my other big issue with Ukraine is this. All we hear is that the United States is not paying our fair share. Meanwhile, you have European nations that have not contributed to NATO, their obligatory 2% for decades. Right. Also, they're counting so much of their military aid for refugee expenses. That shouldn't count as military aid.
Congressman, what do you think? Because there are clearly discussions going on, and we've heard bits and pieces of sort of changes in attitudes from Putin and from Zelensky over the last couple of months here, and it doesn't appear to be going well for the Ukrainians right now. What does this look like? If you were in the military, thank you for your service.
Thanks.
You were over in Iraq, so you have experience with sort of understanding, military operations. What could an arrangement look like that Donald Trump might be interested in?
Well, the fantasy that Ukraine is going to retake all of its territory is just that. It's a fantasy. That might have been possible early on, but Biden slow-walked aid, slow-walked weapons, which was a huge disaster in this war. But now the Russians have dug in. There's anti-tank trenches. They have all kind of armaments. It would be very difficult for the Ukrainians to retake that land. So if I trust Donald Trump, the man knows how to make a deal, and I think he can make a deal here. If that looks like something that the Russians take part of the Donbass, we agree that Ukraine will not become part of NATO, but also give security guarantees for Ukraine moving forward. I don't know what it looks like, but there has to be something that ends this war and stops our slow, steady progress to World War III.
Do you think we're getting there? I mean, do you really think that we're going to be able to do that in the first, let's say, 6 months of next year?
I really do, because I think that the world leaders, of course, Putin and Zelensky, know that Donald Trump is coming into power. Zelensky knows there's not a lot of appetite for the United States Congress, now in control of Republicans, to just continue to send money over to Ukraine. So there's got to be an off-ramp here and an exit strategy that Zelensky's got to agree to.
And of course, the key will be making sure that Putin knows that this far and no farther, don't try it, right? And mean it, unlike Biden, who said don't, and everybody did, because they knew that he wasn't going to do anything about it. Really mean, your imperial designs end here right now.
Tom, exactly right. Remember, you had Obama drawing red lines that never were enforced. Exactly. You had Biden making ridiculous statements that we would tolerate a minor incursion by Russia into Ukraine, basically baiting the Russians to advance. Now you know that you have a real leader in charge who says what he means and means what he says.
All right.